Hi, I'm Dr. Dan Ratner. Today I'm joined by Antonella for the first of 4 mind-body consultation sessions. We're going to talk about the emotions column and help her figure out how she makes sense in this regard. If you haven't already, click subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, hit like if you like what you're hearing, and put your comments below and we'll get back to you personally. And finally, you can reserve your place in one of my seminars or purchase any of my mind-body guides, also known as the PDFs, at www.crushingdoubt.org. Hi, Antonella. It is such a pleasure to have you here. The very first thing that I say to people, just to try to put them at ease, but also to appreciate them, is that this is not an easy thing to do.
No.
To come talk about you and to be willing to let other people hear about it. So I applaud you. I'm thankful for you. I think a lot of people are going to get a lot out of it, just as they have with the other videos. But what we're going to do now is say goodbye to them and zero in on just me and you and what you need out of this consultation. So I want to orient you a little bit to how the consultation will go, although you kind of know this from having seen them. We will cover the 3 different columns, and we will get to some action steps as well. And generally speaking, in this first session, we're focused more on the emotions column.
Okay.
But as we talk, we may jump around a little bit, and it's all going to be what works for you. Do you have something to write with? If you don't, it's not a big deal.
I do.
Okay. Just because you may want to jot some notes down here or there. So let's start at the beginning. The beginning, as far as this kind of consultation goes, is when your symptoms began. So you've told me some about it, but I want you to sum it up a little bit now. When did they start?
3 years ago is when it started severely.
And this is with the birth of your 3rd child, right?
It started, he's 8 years old. So
Oh, okay.
Symptoms started then, but I was ignoring them because they would just go away. Right? They would be like I would be holding a weight and I'd have this weird pain in my hand. I dropped the weight and I was fine for a long time. Or I'd have like a weird pain in my knees from running because, again, I was associating it with running, and then it'd be gone. And then 3 years ago is when it just, everything was like through the roof in terms of my digestion and the body pain and the fatigue. It's like everything just came crashing in all at once. And with the pain then, like how it started, it gave me like this reminder of all these little things I was feeling over the years that I was, I guess, ignoring.
Can you fill me in a little bit about what those were, just to give me the background?
The pains?
Yeah, you said you realized there were all these things you'd been feeling over the years.
Right. So after I had my little guy, my youngest, I kept going back to my doctor and telling her, I'm really tired. And I know there's something, like, why am I this tired? But I was like, oh, okay, I'm just a mom, 3 boys, and I'm a stay-at-home mom. So I push. And I thought, of course, you're a mom of 3, you're going to be tired. And so that was one of the things that had started, and I was very active. So I was like, okay, here you are, you're working out, you're a mom, you're taking care of the house, you're going to be tired. And then, like I was saying, like if I would run, I would have a little bit of pain here and there. And the one pain that really stuck was one in my back. But because I had 3 C-sections, I just assumed it had something to do with that, So, I just dismissed a lot of these pains.
Right.
But the gut issues was something that I was continuously dealing with. But I just thought, that's me. This is my gut. It doesn't work. and that's how I dealt with it.
So, Antonella, let me ask you this. I know you read some Sarno, you read Steve Ozanich. And when was it that you discovered the whole mind-body concept?
Probably 2 years ago. Right? Probably about that. Yeah. I started with the TMS wiki website, and I thought that was fantastic. I was like, this is it. This makes so much sense. And then I read Dr. Sarno, and still, it makes the most sense.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that was when my journey started with the whole TMS.
Did you get some significant relief from that, or was it more it made sense but you still weren't getting the relief?
I wasn't getting the relief, and I started to think, like, I started to wonder why. And I think for me, at least when I started doing journal speak, because I also did journal speak,
Mhm.
um, I wasn't feeling anything. So if I brought up a trauma or something, which I know affected me at that time, if I would write about it or bring it up, I could not feel those emotions. So I don't think that I was letting it pass because I wasn't feeling anything. I was nor here nor there. It was just whatever. It
Right.
passed.
So one of the
So
things that I talk about in those kinds of situations is it's like you're beating your head against what I call the emotional brick wall, where you are trying to get at an emotion but you just can't get there.
no.
And so you go over and over and over. What I want to do, and we'll start with this today, is we're going to start to describe your mind body experience through the columns. And that, I think, is going to be incredibly relieving to you in multiple ways. One of
Okay.
them is it's going to describe it even better. It's going to get at the specifics of what's happening for you and why. It's going to start to organize some of the specifics of how you might think about it, like emotional themes, for example. Instead of just journaling on your own, this gives us a chance to put our heads together and for you to get some feedback from me where I say, okay, wait a minute. This theme, if you think about it this way, if you get to the broad part, it might hit you differently. We don't know what'll come out of it yet,
Right.
but we're going to start to get your mind-body map set. And so today, what I want to focus in on, just as a starting point, we can always jump to any column you want to, because this is really your time to get your answers. But the way that I thought I would structure it first is for us to kind of begin to develop your emotional themes so that your emotions column is well on the way towards being developed. And the way that we do that is to look at the major themes of your life and see if we can develop it into the right format. Now, I want to remind you of what that is because I'm sure you've seen this before, but the themes are always something, they're related to something very broad, a very big idea. They're high stakes, they mean something big, and they also have a specific thing to it. So I want to take you through one emotional theme based on some things you mentioned.
Okay.
I'm picking this just because it jumped out at me first. That doesn't mean it's the most important, but it is one of them. So you talked about growing up with your parents the way they were, and you have a very different dad from your mom. I wanted to ask, is it okay to talk about this kind of openly here, or do you want
Yeah.
to? Okay, just making sure. So what you described to me, and I want you to correct me if I'm wrong, but what you described to me is that you have historically been a lot closer to your mom. Sometimes even felt protective of her because your dad would get mad in certain ways. And I wondered if you could just share a little bit about that, and then we're going to develop this into a theme. So what was the experience like with your dad? Because it was so different than with your mom.
So my dad is like old school Italian. I
Mm-hmm.
hate saying it that way, but he's like your typical old school Italian. So very strict growing up and very so women are in the kitchen and stay home and take care of their kids. And and basically what I say goes. So he was like that a lot with us, like me and my brothers, and especially with my mom. Um, so growing up, my mom had to have certain food on the table made a certain way, and there always had to be bread, and there always had to be, we always had to wait for him to eat, no matter what time he came home. And let's say my mom forgot to buy bread, he was very angry.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that was growing up. If she forgot to wash something of his, or if his clothes weren't exactly where they were supposed to be, he would be angry with her. He would yell at her and pick a fight, or so when I was growing up, I was scared of him because I was scared that he was always going to hurt her or be mad at her or yell at her. And I hated hearing him yelling. Like even right now, as I'm talking about it, like I could feel that bit of weird tightness in my chest, because it's like I was always like, you know, I guess in that fight or flight, like ready to go protect my mom. And there was no way I could go protect her. But I figured if I held on for dear life, let's say to my pillow, or if I was in my room playing with my Barbies, I would just hold on to my Barbie, because it's like, okay, I'm protecting her, even though I'm not in any way. But that was me being able to do that, right? Because I was scared of him.
Okay. So one of the things that we need to develop is a theme around that fear. Do you know, what were you most afraid of in it? You know, was it, and I'm just going to throw out possibilities. I'm not saying this is or isn't, but it could have been the fear that your mom would get hurt, or the fear that she might leave him and that might break up the family, or the fear that the anger would end up on you, or that just the process of it in general was so unpleasant that you felt like you couldn't survive the experience of it. I don't know what it is, but those are possibilities.
It's so hard, because yes, definitely didn't want her. I felt like he was going to hurt her. I was scared that he would hurt her, but I couldn't handle that either. I just couldn't handle the yelling. I couldn't handle the anger in him. That was always something that I just couldn't handle it.
So I want you to jot down 2 notes, because I hear 2 different themes. One is the fear that your mom would get hurt. Now, was that primarily physically, or were you also worried that she would get hurt in an emotional way, or what was the...
Mostly emotional, but yes, physical as well.
Okay. So that's one theme. It's the start of a theme. We don't have that well developed yet, but that's part of what we do when we build out the emotions column. Is we're just going to locate the general themes. Then we're going to get specific. Okay? So there's the fear that your mom would get hurt, which we might need to develop into an even more broad theme. I'll get to that in a second. But the other that I heard is the sheer anger was intolerable. Something about that anger was intolerable. Okay, so we're just taking notes. So those are 2 themes that we've got so far.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to try to dig deeper into each of them just to show you how this goes, and then we'll turn our attention to other ones. But, okay, so let's take as a start this fear that your mom would get hurt. There's some meaning under that, and I'm going to give you some examples.
Okay.
I don't know what applies. You're the one that knows, and you'll tell me which rings true, or if none of them do, if there's something else. But it could have been something like, if he hurts her and then she's not able to function, who will take care of me? That's one aspect. It also could have been, it could have come out of empathy. I hate her hurting so much that I can't tolerate that, just the hurt of it. Go ahead. I'm gonna. Normally, I might keep going, but I see your wheels
I would
turning.
say both. I was afraid that he would hurt her, and then I wouldn't have my mom, or hurt her. And I don't know how. I guess maybe because I understand it now as an adult, but hurt her enough mentally too that she just would numb out. Because my mom would just kind of zone out sometimes, like that depressive sort of freeze, I guess, response, where she would just go with the motions and just be there. And then of course I couldn't bear him, because my mom is like this, and I know people love their moms, but to me my mom is like this superhuman, like amazing person. So, and everybody loves her. So to me, I couldn't understand, like, how can you be mad at her? Like, she's like the best thing in this world. Like, I don't get it. So it hurt me. I could feel it. Like, how? Like, she's so awesome, right? Like, how can you do that? So it's just something as a child I just couldn't understand. It's like, but I don't understand. You get mad at people who don't buy bread? I don't know. It's a mistake.
Right. So this is a potential third theme that I'm hearing, which is about, and I'm thinking about the broad topic, confusion. Did you feel confused a lot of the time growing up, or sometimes even in your adulthood? Do you find yourself feeling confused? Why is it this way? Can't make sense of it?
I do find that a lot, that I'm confused and always trying to find out why. And then, and that's, and definitely as a child, yes, I was confused. It's like, why? Why is it so bad to forget about bread? Or why is it so bad that my mom forgot to put the fork on the table when you could just go and get it yourself? Like, it's, and so, yeah.
So I was thinking that when people are confused a lot, it can lead to a lack of safety.
Yeah.
Because how can you feel safe if you can't make sense of even what's happening? Right? Does this feel right on?
It feels right on, because now when you said about the adult part, I was like, yeah, I always tell my husband, I'm like, I'm so confused. I'm confused. And he says, why do you say that? I'm like, because I'm confused. Why do I have this? And why do I feel this? And yeah, and you're right. And I don't feel safe. And it's like, and I've been saying that a lot to him. I'm like, I just don't feel safe anymore.
Okay, so we're going to write down two different things, because this might be two different themes, or it might be one theme. I don't know which. Confusion is one of them. We're going to revisit that soon. Safety is another. Safety in relation to confusion is definitely a theme, but safety could be its own theme also. So we're just developing ideas right now. But I do think this is interesting, because we just started with one thing. We started with what is it like living with your dad, and we've gotten to three or four different themes. And this is the way it goes. We start at the kind of one of the central pieces for you, and we start to find these things out. So let's jump back to that first theme that we were developing a little bit about your mom and worrying that she would get hurt. I want to see if we can identify, in terms of what rings true for you, the most central piece of that, because we don't have the broad picture yet. We've got the specifics in a way, but we don't have the broadest picture. So as an example, it could be that the center of that theme, the part that makes it so hard, is that in the end, if she were hurt, she would numb out and then you'd be alone. And I don't know if that could have been terrifying or heartbreaking, or what word you might apply to it.
I think it was more terrifying.
Okay. All right. Now we're getting to it. And this actually mixes in safety too, which is not a surprise. Safety is like in so many of the themes for everybody. So I'm going to say this theme to you as I see it so far. And this is not set in stone. We could really change this. But what I'm doing is I'm gauging, well, how close to the mark are we with this? So I might say, if I'm understanding you correctly, that, and I want you to write this one down just to see what it feels like as we go through it. My father's anger was a big threat to me because it could make my mom, is disappear the right word? Or numb out? I don't know if disappear is too strong of a word.
Yeah, disappear isn't
temporarily
right.
Disappear, or need to hide?
I like temporarily disappear.
Okay, good. Pick the words that fit right with you. Made her temporarily disappear, which took my primary connection or safety net, or maybe both.
Yeah. Like my primary, like for me, she was like my only caregiver, even though I had my dad, but she was like the only thing, right? So she's like my primary caregiver. So
right. So
Right.
do those words feel right? To say my primary caregiver.
Yeah.
And then I'll add one last thing to it. Leaving me terrified. Now, I have one more question about it before we finish that off. Were you terrified that she would never come back? Or were you terrified that something bad would happen while she was gone? Or were you terrified that you would be mad at her for having to leave?
No, I was terrified that she would not, come back. Like she
Okay.
just wouldn't be there for me.
That was what I was reading at first, but you're the one who knows. So I would say leaving me terrified that she wouldn't come back and I would be all alone. Now, I just want to point out something because this is very important for your emotions column in general. When we did this exercise of this one theme, I just want to point out, you're the one who knew what was right the entire time. Right?
Yeah.
This is very important because what I want you to get used to in the emotions column is that it's not as mysterious as some people make it out to be. You already know this stuff. I'm just going to help you organize it, and you're going to like this, especially in relation to the confusion theme. I'm going to help you so you're not confused anymore.
Right.
And that's going to make you feel safe, and it's going to give you things you can do. And you don't even have to get in touch with the full emotional force of it necessarily.
Okay.
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
The key is to know about themes like this, and I'll tell you why. If you are in a present day situation, I mean, let's say you're, I was going to say you're at a dinner party, but I guess with 3 kids you might not be. But let's put you in, let's say that you had a kid's birthday party and you have people over and somebody gets really angry. Well, that anger feeling is going to call back this other stuff. It's gonna call it up, and it could lead to acute symptoms. It could be that that full body pain gets worse, or it could be that the fatigue is bigger, maybe even later, because it took a toll on you while you were there.
Right.
So what we're going to start to do is start to track the ups and downs of the symptoms in
Okay.
relation to these themes. Is this making sense so far? Okay. Because the emotions column is all about the onset and the uptick in symptoms. So if you get a new symptom, we know to go looking at these themes. And you could be like, was this the losing my primary caregiver, lack of safety? Is this confusion? Is this anger, being so uncomfortable? Once we have a list of these themes, it's like you're going to a grocery store and there's just a shelf and you're like, okay, there's this one and this one and this one. And it will allow you to really pinpoint which one, because it's always going to be one, is the most active at that moment. Ultimately, this is all about making it all make sense, so it's perfect for you.
Right. Right.
So how's this feeling so far? And then I'll move to the next theme.
It feels good and it feels right, because it's like you're hitting the nail on the head by saying, like, it's getting the confusion out. And that's like the biggest thing.
That's my gut instinct, which is a funny word to use given that you have some gut symptoms.
Oh yeah.
I think that if we get rid of confusion and a lack of safety, you're going to be totally fine. I think those are the 2 primary things. Now, of course, we need to use the columns to do that, but let's move over to this confusion theme.
Okay.
We're going to develop some other themes partway, and some of them will be more fully, and then you and I will interact in between as needed. But the confusion theme is really important. Confusion, I would say, is the broad topic. Confusion and lack of safety. The lack of safety that comes from confusion, really. So I want to see if we can put this into words. let's start with growing up. Were there other things you were confused about? We know that your dad's anger was confusing to you. Were you ever confused about the way your mom responded to things? And none of this is meant to be critical of anybody. I'm just
Yeah.
it.
So I always used to ask her, I'm like, well, why are you with him if he's so mean to you, right? Like when people are mean, you don't stay. And so that always confused me because as I got older and understood more, I kept telling her, well, Mom, you definitely can leave him. I'm okay with if you leave him. And she used to always say, well, I can't. Where would I go? That part I didn't understand. I'm like, what do you mean? Where do you go? We go to another home, right? Like, and my mom was a stay-at-home mom. She's like, well, how would I support you and your brothers? And so to me, that was very confusing, especially because of how mean he was. And like people who love each other don't treat someone like that, right? So that was a big confusion. And he was mean to my brothers too. Not so much to me, because I guess I was like daddy's little girl in a sense, or maybe because I was a girl. I don't know, but he wasn't like that with me. But with my brother, he was very mean to him. And I'm like, this is your son. So it was always confusing because my brother was a bit overweight, my older brother. And so he had a bit of weight issues, and my dad would call him names. And to me, it was like, so if I was big, then that means like, I guess that you wouldn't love me. Is that right? So, and my mom too was a little bit heavier. And so he would say things to her as well. So I was just confused. I'm like, I don't get it. What's the big deal? I thought we're family. We didn't care what we look like. So, so that was a lot of confusion for me, right? Because I didn't understand that.
Absolutely. Okay, I'm also understanding there's another theme in here potentially to explore, and it is about weight and appearance and how people value each other in this way in your experience. So just jot that down. We don't have it. Obviously, that's not fully fleshed out, but it's a place we have to look.
Yeah.
No, oh, good. I'm glad. This is good. I appreciate that you're giving me feedback on what resonates with you. It does not matter what I think. I'm very good at bringing up, at understanding what I'm hearing, but I'm not perfect, and you're the one who's going to know. So let's jump back to confusion for a second. I hear that you were confused about how your dad was, and you were confused about how your mom was. Were you confused about how many siblings did you have?
I have 2 older brothers.
Okay. Were you confused about them and how they were? Let me ask you this. Did anyone in your life make sense to you where you looked and you said, I understand? It may not be.
No. It's funny that you say that because no, like they were just, the way we were was just very strange in a way, especially when I compare myself to other friends and their family. Because my brothers did sort of like the same thing. They just kind of like escape or numb out or hide away. Like we never really sat together as a family unless my dad was out or away. That's when we all, I don't know, we could breathe and just act ourselves. But while he was around, we were like little soldiers or robots who were just kind of doing what we had to do.
Right.
I guess almost to avoid him. So no, everybody was not normal.
Let me ask this then. So when he wasn't there, were they all confusing at the same level then, or was it a lot less confusing?
A lot less confusing.
Okay. Was it confusing at all though? Was it still like, you're acting normal, but why are we doing this other thing? Mm-hmm.
No, I think it wasn't confusing because then I understood, well, he's not here. So I wonder though if that's still confusing, right? Because it's not.
I think it is.
Right.
And that's part of my point here is that when we're identifying this theme, because there is the theme of anger and what it does to you and what it did to your family, where I think it kind of scrambled everybody's insides in a way and made everybody not sure how to be or how to
Yeah.
feel safe.
Yeah.
So that's the second theme we were working on, and we'll get to that in a second. But the confusion theme, I think, relates to even times of calm. I think if you don't feel that things make sense, then it doesn't even matter if things are calm. I mean, it's better
Right.
for it to be calm, but it leaves you with a feeling of that there would never be any at ease stance because nothing made clear sense. So let's try this theme out. I'm going to say it to you. I want you to give me feedback about what I'm missing, what I leave out, what I include that doesn't belong there. But I would say, in my whole life, people have never made full sense to me, which left me feeling a lack of peace, a lack of safety, and even confusion about whether I make sense. That's my gut instinct on this.
Yeah. As you're saying that, I started to like see my grandmother, my mom, my dad, the more, the people that were with me so much when I was growing up. And maybe one word that you're missing or you mentioned earlier, but like the lack of ease, lack of calm, like it just wasn't there.
Right. Okay, so let's make sure to add that in. So let's try this again. I want you to write it down. Again, we can alter this. This is not set in stone. This is writing it down is part of the exercise of kind of figuring it out. So, my whole life, I did not experience much of a sense of calm or safety because I always felt so confused by other people not seeming to make full sense. Now I need to ask you a question about this. Do you feel that it extends to you? Do you feel like you can't make full sense of you? Or do you experience it as, no, I make full sense, but no one else does?
Well,
which I sometimes
no,
feel.
I do question myself.
Okay, yeah.
I do. I question myself. And it's because I say to my husband, like, I don't think I make any sense. Not just speaking, just in general, right? Like, I'm not making sense.
So I would add to this sentence, and that has come to be extended to my own relationship with myself, where I doubt. I'm going to say something kind of extreme. I'm not saying this is true. I just want to explore this. Do you sometimes doubt the fullness of your own reality? Like, does it go that far? Or is it more just, no, I don't doubt my reality, but I really I can't come to a settled place on anything?
I don't think I doubt my reality. It's just, I don't think there's just like that.
You're not settled.
Yeah, like at all.
Okay. So I would say that has extended to me where I can be confused about myself and leaves me perpetually unsettled. Now, I just want you to read through that theme and see if it feels like we got it.
It's funny that you use the word perpetual because I say it all the time. I'm in perpetual fear.
Okay. I guess it seeped into my consciousness somehow. But, the other reason I think I got it is I'm listening to you. And I hear that you're experiencing things that way. And actually, this brings up another theme for us to explore, which is things feel perpetually the same, unchanging, nothing will move, everything's stuck. Yeah? Okay, jot that down.
Yes. Yeah.
That's another theme for us to develop. So what I want to do now, Antonella, is we're going to develop one more full theme. And then we're going to generate a list of themes that need to be developed. We have, I think, 5 total themes that need to be developed. We've developed 2 into full themes. Okay, but one theme that I want to make sure to get more fully developed, because I think it's so central for you, is what anger does to you, how it makes you feel unsafe. So I'm going to ask a question here, and then we'll dive in. What makes it most unsafe? And you may not have an answer to that. It's okay if you don't.
It's scary.
This is a good start. Why is it scary? And again, if you don't have the answer, that's okay. I'll help you find it. But what's the scary part? Is it somebody's going to get hurt? Is it you're afraid that you'll get in touch with your own anger and that'll be bad? Or is it that their anger will come to confuse you? That's the thing that serves to make you not able to think straight. It could be hundreds of things.
Yeah, I don't even know. I can tell you straight, like, it's just scary. And that's right now, that's all that comes up.
Okay. So for now, we're going to leave this theme not fully developed. What we're going to do, though, is we're going to try to find out why it's scary. So we're going to leave it at something like this. When people are angry, it makes me so scared that, and I need your help with this, that what?
When people are angry, it makes me so scared.
I can give you examples, but I don't know which apply. Do you want me to try that?
Maybe, yeah.
Okay, well, one could be, it makes me so scared that I want to disappear. Or it could be, it makes me so scared that I sometimes wish I didn't have to interact with anyone. Or it makes me so scared that
I feel sick to my stomach.
Okay. This is obviously not good that you have that symptom, but it's good work to get closer to the mark. Now, what's making you sick to your stomach about it? Is it that you are so disappointed that the other person would let the anger color everything? Is it that you are disgusted by the anger? What is it? It seemed like there was some recognition in that one.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, the disgust feels like it felt right.
Okay.
That resonated.
Okay, so see, now we're starting to get towards that symptom. You said you didn't know anything about it, but actually, interestingly, your words told us. You told me it made you sick to your stomach, which to me meant there's some disgust there. And when I said it back to you, I could see the recognition. So we're on to something. We don't have the theme fully developed, but you find anger repellent. And you hate to see it because it disgusts you so much.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We may need to find out, well, we do need to find out more about why, but at least we've got the theme. And one of the ways this can be useful is that when somebody gets angry and then you develop, let's say, some gut symptoms, because that wouldn't be surprising at all, you will now be able to think, instead of, oh my God, these symptoms are going to overwhelm and I hate having these symptoms and I also hate anger, where you're kind of at two sides of the pole. Instead, you're going to be able to think, why am I disgusted by this? I can give you an example of why it might be, by the way. I don't know if this is the case, but people, you could feel disgusted by it because it is, I think, at base, a sign of the person not handling themselves well. And maybe you have, I don't know if this is true.
Right.
Maybe you have felt like you have handled yourself very well by comparison to your dad, let's say, who was flying off the handle about bread. You know, I don't know if I'm right about this. You really have to tell me. But it seems to me from meeting you today that you are a pretty rational minded person and keep things
For the
pretty
most
even for yourself.
For the most part, yeah.
Right. Everybody's got their things. But do you pride yourself on that? I mean, that's something I did, so I sometimes found it.
I don't know if I pride myself on it. I guess I feel like maybe I try harder to not be. Right?
Okay, so I think you work hard at it, so then when
Yeah.
you see somebody losing their mind in anger, it disgusts you. It's like
Yes.
they're not trying hard enough.
Right.
Does that feel right?
Right. And it does, because sometimes when I have moments of being mad at my kids, let's say, I feel that disgust in myself. Like, come on, why couldn't you keep your poop together? And why would you react that way?
Okay.
You know?
So there is disgust about people not holding it together and maybe not working hard enough. I don't know if that's right. Does it resonate?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jot that down. We're almost there on this theme, but we're not quite, but that's okay. This is emotions column work right here. Sometimes you get all the way there, and sometimes you get part of the way there, but it doesn't matter, because when I think about it, we've done a huge amount of work to make you more intelligible as you think about, well, what are the central things that bother me? These are the central themes that are going to cause acute symptoms. So since gut symptoms come and go, we're giving you a roadmap of the themes that are active when you have a gut-related symptom. There are going to be some symptoms that you feel like are kind of always there, and that's probably more doubt column related, and we'll get to that next time. But
okay,
we're this is funny to me. I don't know if this will resonate with you, but you are making a lot more sense to me than you did at the start, because I was just meeting you, but you're also making a lot of sense. Like, as I think about the themes, I'm like, oh, I understand this person. I don't understand you fully, but
right.
I understand parts of you.
Okay.
And I think you're as I was watching you, it seems like you're starting to understand some parts of you as we talk about it. So, okay, here's what I want to do now. In the interest of time, I want to see if we can get the general themes out there, even if they're not fully developed. I want to talk about things that we might have not gotten to yet.
Okay.
So, as an example, we did talk about appearance and weight, but I want to touch on it a little bit. Is that something that has been important or loomed large in your life, to use a bad pun? Has that loomed large in your life in a certain way, whether that's the way your dad was, or other people have been that way? Or I know you mentioned with having kids that you aren't feeling good about your body in certain ways.
Yeah, so that's a big one. That's a huge one for me. So growing up, I don't know why, but my dad was like always nitpicking on anybody who was just not that perfect for him. I mean, he still does. I don't know why. So growing up, if he was watching TV, he would always make comments about women specifically, about like if her butt was too big or her nose was too long, or you know, just have anyone who was heavier set definitely made comments. And like I mentioned, my brother and my mom or heavier set, and then my middle brother is like super tiny and thin and can eat whatever he wants, just whatever. So he used to always bring that up, and I was always that person who fell in between. But as a child, I was a little bit chubby, and he brought that up all the time. It was always something that was brought up, whatever I ate something, or how I looked in something, or he would discuss it with his like sister, like, oh yeah, she's a little bit on the chubby side. And it was just so weird because it was like always a topic and it felt so, I don't know. So growing up, and then as a, I tried to like diet all the time, make sure I didn't gain weight. After I had my kids, I would work out, and eat minimally, I guess, if you want to say. And I did. I was thin and I maintained and I was strong, like I was healthy and fit. And now that I'm unwell, I've put on weight and it's been the hardest thing for me. I'm disgusted.
Okay. Well, we're going to work on that. I will see if I can get you relief from that. But in the meantime, what we're seeing is this theme isn't just about weight and appearance. It's also about self-value. That's the broad theme.
Okay.
Do you see what I mean? It's like if you're in a situation and weight or appearance comes up or people are commenting on some physicality, the self-value, it would hit you hard. Meanwhile, there may be another aspect to this which could either be its own theme or it could relate to this, and that is about being a woman in society. I don't have a lot of a leg to stand on even to comment on this, although I do have 2 daughters, and so that has really opened my eyes to how hard it is for women.
Yes.
There are expectations placed on you guys, especially with appearance, that men don't have at all. So I wonder how much that affects you. Does that feel like its own theme? Or does it feel like it kind of more just, it's an aspect of the appearance, weight, self-value theme?
I don't know. It's hard to say because that does resonate with me. Because there's so much of it. There's so much.
You know, actually, I was just thinking about it and I was like, no, this is his own theme. And the reason I say that is that you watched your mom be put in that box over and over and over. And, you know, I don't know how much of that. Many cultures have this also. Society in general has it. It just feels like it's its own thing. So I would jot this down.
Okay.
Being a woman in society. We got to develop that a lot more, but it's its own thing. I got to check a couple of... Go ahead. What were you going to say?
Yeah, so I wanted to bring that up, you know, with society. That you brought that up because when I was younger, and let's say there was something on TV like nudity, I would feel so uncomfortable and mad and angry because I'm like, I don't get it. Why is there always naked women on TV and there's never naked men? And I was like, I don't know, maybe 8 or 9, like, and I feel such anger towards that. I was like very angry. I would make my brother shut the TV off, or my father or my mom like change the channel, and they couldn't understand it. But I was like,
now, oh wow, okay, we just got to another theme. Jot down this. I think in addition to not understanding other people's anger, I think you experienced other people as not understanding your anger, the things that you were angry about, which were totally legit.
Right.
But that's going to be a big one too, because if you have that happen in the present day and it mirrors these things that you had in the past, you're more likely to have a symptom then. Now, going along with that, I wanted to check in on the idea of, well, what's it been like to be a mother? That's a pretty stressful thing, even though it's also wonderful in its own way. Are there stressors as a mother that you think are major themes? You know, people depending on you, people maybe taking you for granted. I don't know.
Think so. I think the whole people taking me for granted, right? That's a big thing, especially that I'm outnumbered. I have 3 boys. Oh, yeah. So I'm the only female here, right? And I'm a stay-at-home mom. So, you know, there's that, and it's a lot of work.
is when you said there's that, I wondered also, do you ever get frustrated at how society responds to stay-at-home moms, as if it's like not a job or something like that, when actually it's like
yes, and I think
hard.
Yes, and I think that's the reason why I've pushed myself harder as a stay-at-home mom, because it was just like, well, I'm a stay-at-home mom, so I can do this, because I don't have to work.
So I'm hearing a couple of different things. One, did you jot down people not understanding your anger Okay, good. Let's also get down feeling taken for granted.
Okay.
And then let's also factor in, by the way, these themes we might end up merging into one at some point. I'm just putting out the ideas, the key ideas. Another is the judgment of society about stay-at-home moms, for example, and the pressure you put on yourself. And I had a question about that. Do you feel like you put pressure on yourself a lot in general?
100%.
So that's its own theme, pressure on yourself. We have to find out, okay, where does that come from? How do we hone that? Let me ask you this. Are there other major areas of your emotional life, the major things that upset you, that we have not yet covered?
I don't know where this falls in, and I don't know that I like it about me, but it seems to be a recent thing, like jealousy.
Okay.
Yeah.
And see, let's get that a little bit elaborated so I can help you locate it. Jealousy, is this mostly in relation to your husband, or does this happen with friends, or
No, so nothing
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, nothing to do with my husband, but maybe like friends and like the people around me.
Is it feeling left out, or is it feeling that something's unfair?
Maybe a little bit of unfair.
Unfair, okay. And does it have something to do with not feeling valued? Or is it more about unfair?
I would say more unfair.
Okay. So let's get that down because I want you to be able to look back at this as we continue to develop it and understand what we meant. So is it life is unfair, people are unfair, circumstances are unfair, everything's unfair?
Yeah, I don't know. I would say maybe I feel like life is unfair.
Okay. Okay, good. That's a place that's not good that it's unfair, but but good that we've got that theme starting to develop. All right, so Antonella, we're going to wrap up for today. What I want to say is, in between now and next week, when we meet for our doubt column work,
okay,
I want us to trade an email or two about these themes and see if we can start to develop the themes in the way that we did with those first couple ones. Okay? And if you need, your memory jogged about it at all, let me know. But I want you to use these notes to take a stab at making them into the kind of themes we made the others into. And I want you to send those to me.
Okay.
I want you also, if something occurs to you and you're like, oh, I forgot about this, I want you to add that. Because ultimately, we want to have your emotional life well described in these themes. I want you to look at these themes and think, this is me. This is how I operate. These are the things that I struggle with. Now, of course, you have a whole emotional life of things you don't struggle with, but those don't lead to symptoms.
No.
So we're just focusing on the themes that lead to symptoms. Okay?
All right.
So we're off to a really, really good start. I'm getting a good picture of you, which is helpful because then I can say what I'm seeing and you can tell me if it resonates. And then you will start to make more sense to yourself, which is the whole point of the whole thing.
Yeah, that's great. So
we're on our way. Next time we will start to deal with the doubt column and the symptoms that are kind of more chronic, but we're going to revisit this too throughout as we go. So let me say again, thank you so much for your generosity, being open about these things and exploring this with me. It's really an honor and exciting. We're getting places.
It is. I look forward to this.
All right, Antonella. So I will see you next week and we'll pick up from there.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Take care.
You too. I get such energy from meeting with people in this regard. And it's for multiple reasons, but one of them is that I always am so excited about how far we can get in one session. It's not to say that always happens, but it usually happens in some capacity. And you could see Antonella's eyes kind of light up when something resonated with her. One of the greatest things about these sessions is it has nothing to do with what I think. It is all about what they think. And what I help people to recognize is they already know their truth. I just am helping to name it and shape it. One of the things that particularly jumped out at me in this session was the idea of confusion. She felt loaded down with never feeling settled on anything. And that makes it very hard to get better from a mind-body process when you don't know what's happening, not only in the mind-body process, but even in who you are and who the rest of the world is. There's no way to get better without things making sense. So I'm very excited the start that we've gotten off to, and I look forward to continuing with her. If you haven't already, click subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, hit like if you like what you're hearing, and put your comments below, and we'll get back to you personally.